The wind screamed across the white desert like a living beast. Snow hit the metal walls of the small outpost, each gust shaking the cabin as if the storm wanted to crush it. Inside, a single man sat near a flickering heater, Ethan Cole, a human engineer, the only survivor of a crash that had happened 3 weeks ago on this frozen alien planet. He rubbed his hands together, staring at the last bar of power left in his heater. "Another night," he whispered. "If the storm keeps going, I won't last 3 more. Outside, everything was endless white, a dead world of ice. The communication tower was broken, the generator weak, and the food almost gone. Ethan had stopped feeling hope days ago. Then, through the roar of the storm, he heard something. At first, it sounded like the wind, but it came again, a voice soft and trembling, carried by the snow. "Help, please. Someone." Ethan froze. He looked toward the door, his heart pounding. Impossible, there shouldn't be anyone out there. No humans, no signals for hundreds of miles. The voice came again, weaker this time. "Please, let me in." Ethan grabbed his thermal jacket, his mind racing. It could be a trick, maybe a creature mimicking human speech. He had read reports of alien life forms that lured survivors out into the cold. He hesitated near the door, staring at the frozen handle. Then he whispered to himself, "If it's real, and I don't help, someone dies tonight." He pulled the lever. The door burst open and the storm screamed inside like a monster unleashed. The cold hit him like knives, and through the blizzard he saw a figure stumbling forward. Tall, slim, covered in frost. The shape fell to its knees just meters away. "Hey," Ethan shouted. "Stay with me." He rushed into the snow, grabbed the figure by the arms and dragged it inside. When he slammed the door shut, silence filled the cabin again, only the wind howling outside. The figure lay on the floor, shivering violently. Snow melted off her silver hair, her skin pale like ice. She wasn't human. Her ears were sharp, her veins faintly glowing blue. Her eyes fluttered open, strange and bright like moonlight. She whispered, voice soft as broken glass, "Let me share your warmth, or I'll die tonight." Ethan froze. He didn't know what she was, alien, clone, hallucination. But the way she trembled, the frost on her lips, she was dying, not lying. He pulled a blanket over her, wrapped her in thermal sheets, and placed her near the heater. Her skin felt cold as stone. "Don't die on me," he said quietly. "I don't even know who you are." Her eyes moved to his face. "Lyra," she whispered. "My name is Lyra." Then she went silent. Hours passed. Ethan sat across from her, watching the small light from the heater dance on her face. Her breathing was slow, weak, but steady. He poured a bit of heated water into a cup and placed it near her hand. She didn't move. He couldn't stop staring. She was beautiful in an otherworldly way. Not human, but not frightening. Her body had strange markings along her arms, glowing faintly blue like frozen rivers under her skin. He recorded a message in his log. "Unknown female, non-human, found outside during blizzard. Possible survivor from the wreck of the alien craft spotted last week. No signs of aggression yet." Then he looked at her again. She was still trembling, even with all the heat he could give. He sighed and muttered, "Guess we'll both freeze if this doesn't work." He lay beside her, keeping a layer of blanket between them. The warmth from his body slowly reached her cold skin. He could feel the tremors in her breathing start to slow. After a few minutes, she whispered, half conscious, "You're warm." He didn't answer.
He just listened to her heartbeat, strange but calming,
echoing softly in the quiet cabin. For the first time in weeks, Ethan felt something human again, not fear, not loneliness, but connection. But then, something changed. He felt a soft light through the blanket. When he looked down, her skin was glowing, gentle blue waves moving under her skin, pulsing like light through water. Ethan's breath caught. "What the hell?" Lyra's eyes opened slowly. She looked at him, directly into his soul. Her gaze wasn't cold anymore. It was deep, like she was searching for something inside him. "You're not like the others," she whispered. "You still have warmth, real warmth." Then her eyes closed again and she fell asleep. Ethan lay still, heart pounding. What did she mean? Not like the others. Who were the others? And why did she glow when she touched him? Outside, the storm screamed louder than ever. Inside, the heater flickered, and a faint blue glow spread through the small cabin. Ethan looked at the alien woman sleeping beside him and whispered, "Who are you, Lyra?" And what are you running from? The wind howled in answer. The cabin's lights dimmed once more, and far away beyond the storm something moved, a dark shadow in the snow tracking the faint heat signature of Ethan's outpost. The night was not over. It had just begun. The storm outside had calmed to a whisper by morning, but the world was still a frozen grave. Ethan woke to the soft sound of breathing beside him. For a moment he forgot where he was. Then the memories of last night hit him. The blizzard, the voice, the alien woman he had pulled from death's hands. He turned his head slightly. She was still there, lying under his blanket. Her silver hair spread across the pillow like threads of light. The blue glow beneath her skin had faded, leaving only faint markings like frost veins. Her eyes were closed, but her chest rose and fell slowly. Alive. Ethan sat up carefully, his joints stiff from the cold floor. The heater had gone out again. He checked the power meter, 3% remaining. Great, he muttered. Now it's you, me, and one dying heater. He poured hot water from the emergency flask and placed it near her. Steam rose like fragile smoke between them. Then suddenly her hand moved. The woman, Lyra, opened her eyes, slow and cautious, as if waking from a long nightmare. She looked at him, confused, then scanned the room, the cracked walls, the blinking lights, the soft hum of dying machinery. Where am I? She asked, her voice low and melodic. You're safe, Ethan said. Inside my outpost. You almost froze to death last night. Lyra tried to sit up, but her arms shook. Ethan reached out to help her, but she flinched away, quick like a frightened animal. Don't touch me, she said softly. Then seeing the hurt in his eyes, she whispered, I didn't mean, it's just, your kind feels different, Ethan frowned. My kind? Lyra looked down, not answering. Her fingers traced the small scar near her wrist. It wasn't a natural mark. It looked like something burned into her skin like a brand. Hours passed in uneasy silence. Ethan tried fixing the heater with trembling hands, and Lyra sat near the wall, her gaze lost in the flickering light. She studied every object like she had never seen human tools before. Finally, Ethan broke the silence. You said something last night, he said. You said I wasn't like the others. What did that mean? Lyra's eyes flicked toward him, then away. I shouldn't have spoken. It's not safe for you to know, he sighed. Safe, lady, nothing safe anymore. I'm trapped on a dead planet with a woman who glows in the dark. You can't just drop a mystery line and expect me not to ask. Lyra almost smiled, but her face quickly turned sad. You humans, she murmured. You always want the truth, even when it hurts. The cabin lights flickered. A distant rumble shook the floor. Ethan turned to the radar screen. A faint signal blinked. Someone's out there, he said. Lyra's eyes widened. Hide it, now! What? Why? They're searching for me. Ethan stared at her. Who? Before she could answer, the power died completely. Darkness filled the cabin. The only light was the faint blue glow from her skin. It lit the walls in a ghostly shimmer. In the silence, Ethan could hear her breathing, fast, afraid. She stood weak but desperate, moving to the small window. Outside, flashes of light danced across the snow, like search beams. Lyra, he whispered, what did you bring to my door? Her voice trembled. Not death. I hope. The heater clicked again, struggling to restart. Lyra turned toward Ethan, eyes shining faintly. They'll come if they find my trace, she said. If they do, you must not let them take me. Ethan crossed his arms. I'm not sure I like being dragged into your war. She looked at him for a long time. Then slowly she said, I didn't choose this. I ran because they wanted to use me. They want to take what makes me alive and make it theirs, he frowned. Use you? For what? Her lips parted, then stopped. If I tell you, you'll hate me. Try me. Lyra's voice dropped to a whisper. Because your people helped them build the machines that broke mine. Ethan's chest tightened. He didn't understand, not yet, but the words hit deep. Before he could speak again, a sharp beep filled the air. The external motion sensors flashed red. Something or someone was moving through the storm. Lyra backed away from the door, her voice shaking. They found us. The outpost began to groan under the wind again. The radar showed 3 heat signatures closing fast. Ethan grabbed his tool pistol, the only weapon he had left. He turned to Lyra. Can you fight? She looked down at her hands, and for the first time Ethan saw a faint energy spark between her fingers. Blue light gathering like fireflies. I don't fight, she said. I survive. Then let's survive together. Her eyes softened. Something human flickered behind that alien calm. Fear mixed with something deeper, something she didn't dare name. As the first shadow moved past the window, Ethan and Lyra pressed close against the wall. Her breath brushed his neck and warm, trembling. The blue glow from her body pulsed faster, reacting to her fear. Or something else. Your heart, she whispered. It's so loud. Yours is glowing, he replied, even in danger. They shared a brief, impossible moment. 2 lives from different worlds. Hiding from the same death. Outside. The searchlight swept past the cabin, closer each second. Inside, Ethan tightened his grip on the weapon. Lyra's hand brushed his arm. If they come inside, she whispered, don't let them take me alive. The air went silent. Only the sound of the storm remained. Then the knock on the door. 3 slow, heavy knocks. Ethan and Lyra stared at each other. The storm outside howled again, and somewhere deep in the snow, a machine's eye turned red, locking onto the cabin's heat signature. The hunters had arrived. The first knock still echoed in Ethan's mind long after the silence returned. No one stood outside the door now, only the whispering storm. But the sensors didn't lie. Something had been there. Something was still close. Lyra stayed near the corner, her glowing skin dimmed now, her eyes cold and alert. She looked more like a soldier than the fragile woman he had found in the snow. Ethan checked his scanner. 3 life forms had passed the cabin, but none entered. They moved east toward the valley. Maybe they didn't see us, he said. Lyra shook her head slowly. They saw. They're testing. Watching how long you'll hide me. Ethan frowned. You make it sound like they're human. Her lips tightened. They were once. The heater flickered weakly, the air still freezing. Ethan wrapped himself in a thermal blanket, but Lyra didn't move closer. She sat near the wall, eyes distant, as if she was listening to voices no one else could hear. He studied her quietly. She was strange, part human, part light, and yet when she looked at him he felt something real. Something alive in this dead world. He broke the silence. You said they want to use you, why? She didn't answer right away. Her eyes glowed faintly as she whispered, because I was made to heal. And to destroy. Ethan blinked. You're a weapon? Lyra smiled sadly. Not by choice. My kind was created from a union between 2 races, yours and mine. We were meant to bridge peace, but humans wanted power. They built us in secret. They called us the Synthesis Project. He stared at her, his heart pounding. That's not possible. Humans haven't reached this far into the galaxy yet. She turned to him, eyes shimmering like glass. You think your kind hasn't been here? You think you crashed by accident? Ethan felt the room shrink around him. What do you mean? Lyra's gaze softened, pity mixed with fear. You were part of them, Ethan, before the crash, before your memory was wiped. You worked for the ones who made me. Ethan felt his chest tighten. He stepped back, shaking his head. That's insane. I was an engineer for a mining crew, not some experiment. Lyra stood, unsteady but determined. She touched the back of his neck and his skin burned cold. For a moment a flash burst in his mind. Blinding white light, machines, a lab filled with voices, and her. Lyra, screaming behind glass. He stumbled back, gasping. What was that? Your memory, she said softly. They buried it. I freed it. Ethan sank onto the floor. He couldn't tell if he was losing his mind or if she was telling the truth. Everything inside him screamed no, but deep down something felt familiar. The smell of the lab, the echo of her voice. He looked up at her, eyes trembling. Then why would I help build something like that? Lyra knelt beside him. Because you believed it would save lives. You didn't know what they were really doing. The silence between them grew heavy. Outside, the storm moaned across the ice fields. Lyra sat beside him now, close enough for him to feel her strange warmth again. You saved me last night, she said softly. That was no accident. You were always the one who tried to protect us even before you forgot. Ethan looked at her, confused, angry, and yet drawn to her all the same. If that's true, then who wiped my memory? Why leave me here to die? Lyra's voice broke. Because you refused to finish the weapon. You tried to destroy it, and me with it. He stared at her, stunned. Destroy you? She nodded slowly, tears forming in her silver eyes. To stop them from using me. But I survived. I escaped before the final purge. Ethan didn't know what to say. Every word from her mouth tore open more questions than answers. But one thing was certain. He wasn't just a lost engineer. He was part of something far bigger and darker. The radar beeped again. This time the signal wasn't moving away. It was beneath them. Ethan rushed to the console, tapping through frozen screens. The data showed faint heat signatures deep under the ice right below the cabin. Something's buried down there, he said. Something old and big. Lyra's eyes widened. That's the lab, he turned sharply. The what? The place where we were made. It's under this ice field. That's why they came here, to recover what's left. The words hit him like a hammer. His crash, his outpost, everything. Not random. Planned. He had been brought here right above the grave of his own past. The cabin lights flickered again. A deep rumble shook the ground. Lyra gasped, clutching her chest as her markings glowed brighter. They're waking it up, she whispered. They're using the old systems to track me. Ethan grabbed his jacket and tools. Then we go down first. We find the truth before they do. Lyra stared at him, surprised. You'd go back into that place. He met her gaze. If it holds the answers, yes. For a long moment, they looked at each other. Her fear met his determination, her alien glow reflected in his human eyes. Then I won't let you go alone, she said finally. Ethan pulled open the floor hatch that led to the frozen tunnels below. A cold wind rose from the darkness beneath. Dry, metallic, and ancient. Lyra followed, her light casting soft waves across the walls of ice. Each step echoed through the narrow corridor, deeper and deeper into the forgotten world below. Ethan felt the air grow warmer, the hum of machinery still alive under centuries of frost. At the tunnel's end, a metal door waited, half buried, half broken, and across it faded human letters read, Project Synthesis. Level 1 Lyra whispered, her voice trembling between fear and sorrow. Welcome home. Ethan. The tunnel air was thick and metallic, every echo bouncing off frozen steel. Ethan led the way, his flashlight cutting through the dark. Behind him, Lyra's faint blue glow painted the walls, giving the place an otherworldly shimmer. They stopped at the massive metal door marked Project Synthesis, Level 1. Frost had sealed it shut. But Ethan's tools weren't just for mining. He pulled out a compact plasma cutter, heating the lock until it melted away with a hiss. The door groaned open. A wave of stale air rushed out, dry, cold, and heavy with the smell of machines long dead. Inside was a large chamber filled with shattered screens and broken pods. Most were empty. Some still held shapes frozen in ice, half human, half something else. Lyra's voice trembled. This is where I was born. Ethan stepped closer to one of the pods. Inside, a figure floated, a human shape with glowing veins, eyes closed in eternal sleep. He whispered, God, what did they do here? Lyra touched the glass, her hand shaking. They tried to make peace by creating monsters. A low beep broke the silence. Ethan looked down at his wrist scanner. Motion detected. Someone's here, he said quickly. Lyra turned, her expression tightening. They followed us. Before he could reply, the tunnel lights flickered to life on one by one, bright white beams cutting through the dark. Then came the sound of boots crunching ice. Ethan grabbed her arm and pulled her behind a metal pillar. 3 soldiers entered the chamber, wearing thick black armor marked with glowing red symbols. Their helmets hissed softly with each breath. One of them spoke into his comm. Target signal located. Energy traces from subject Lyra confirmed. Ethan's stomach dropped. They weren't guessing, they knew she was here. Lyra closed her eyes and whispered, They can feel my pulse energy. We have to move. He nodded, scanning the side wall. There, an old maintenance tunnel, half collapsed but still open enough to crawl through. He motioned silently. Go. They moved fast and low, crawling into the side passage just as the soldiers spread out. Ethan could hear their footsteps behind, slow, heavy, patient. The tunnel narrowed until Ethan had to crawl on his hands and knees. Lyra crawled behind him, her breath quick and shallow. The faint hum of her body's glow was their only light now. Suddenly, a metallic voice echoed behind them. Unauthorized life signatures detected. Prepare for neutralization. Blinding light filled the tunnel as the soldiers fired. Blue plasma bolts sliced through the dark, burning the walls. Ethan ducked, grabbing Lyra's wrist. "Run!" he shouted. They stumbled out into another chamber, smaller, filled with shattered consoles. Ethan slammed a control panel, sealing the tunnel door behind them. The metal glowed red under the plasma fire, bending, melting. It wouldn't hold long. Lyra leaned against the wall, trembling. "We can't fight them. Not like this." Ethan took a deep breath, scanning the room. "Yes, we can. We just need to think human," she frowned. "Human?" He smiled weakly. "We improvise." He looked around the chamber, piles of old power cells, cooling pipes, and a cracked generator. An idea sparked in his mind. "Help me with this," he said. "If I overload these cells, it'll blow the tunnel when they come through." Lyra stared at him. "That could kill us, too." Ethan met her eyes. "Only if I fail." For a moment, they just looked at each other. The air was cold, but the space between them burned with unspoken words. Fear, trust, something more. Finally, she nodded and helped him connect the wires. Her glowing hands guided his in the dark. When her skin brushed his, warmth surged through his veins. "You're shaking," she whispered. "So are you," he said. A small smile crossed her face, fragile but real. The soldier's footsteps grew louder. The metal door began to crack. "Ready?" Ethan said. Lyra nodded, stepping back. Her eyes glowed bright blue now, light spilling across the room. "If this fails, I'll protect you," she said softly. He smiled. "Don't, just live." The door burst open. 3 armored soldiers stormed in, weapons raised. Ethan hit the power switch. The generator screamed, lights flashed. Then everything went white. When the dust settled, Ethan coughed through smoke. The walls were torn apart. The tunnel behind them collapsed. 2 soldiers were down. The third, still standing, limped forward, armor cracked. Ethan reached for his weapon, but the soldier raised a hand. "You can't run forever," the voice rasped through static. "The others will come. The commander knows she's alive." Then he fell, dead. Lyra stood beside him, hands glowing faintly. The energy still hummed in the air from her last defense. Ethan turned to her, eyes wide. "You saved us." She looked away. "No, I used the same power they gave me. To kill." He stepped closer, touching her shoulder. "You used it to survive. That's what matters." Lyra looked up, eyes shining with tears. "You don't understand, Ethan. Every time I use it, I become more like them. The machine inside me grows stronger. The human part fades." He shook his head. "Then I'll remind you what human means." For a moment, she just stared at him, searching his face, his voice, his warmth. Then she whispered, almost afraid, "Why do you care so much?" Ethan smiled softly. "Because you asked me to share my warmth." And I never stopped. The ground trembled again. Outside, above the tunnels, engines roared. Through a small crack in the ceiling, Ethan saw the dark shadow of a massive ship descending from the sky. Lyra's face went pale. "They're not just soldiers anymore," she whispered. "They've brought the commander." Ethan tightened his grip on his weapon. "Then we finish this together." Lyra nodded slowly, blue light burning bright beneath her skin. And as the shadow of the warship covered the ice above them, their 2 lights, one human, one alien, and shown as one in the darkness below, the war for warmth had begun. The night above the ice was quiet, too quiet. The warship hung in the clouds like a black moon, its lights moving slowly across the sky. Deep below, in the shattered tunnels of the old lab, Ethan and Lyra sat beside a broken console, surrounded by flickering screens and the smell of burnt metal. The explosion had sealed the soldiers out, for now, but the silence was heavy with danger. Only the hum of dying machines filled the room, and Lyra's soft blue glow danced across the cracked floor. Ethan's hands shook as he tried to power the main console. One final spark jumped and a faded logo appeared on the screen. Project Synthesis, Human Division Access Granted Lee. Ra flinched. That name again. It haunts me. Ethan stared at the screen. It's our only chance to know the truth. The files loaded slowly. Images, logs, data. One video flickered to life, showing a younger Ethan standing in a lab. His voice echoed through the speakers. Test subject number 7 shows emotional reaction to pain stimulus. Recommend termination protocol. Lyra covered her mouth. That's you, she whispered. You said that. Ethan's heart sank. He didn't remember saying those words, but there he was, speaking like a stranger. Cold, empty. He turned away from the screen.
That can't be me.
I would never, Lyra interrupted softly. It was before they erased you. Another file appeared. This one marked Lyra-01 Creation Log. Ethan opened it. The text scrolled across the screen. Human scientist Ethan Cole, lead designer of neural link integration. Objective: combine human empathy with alien bioenergy to create controllable hybrids. Subject 01, emotional link unstable. Attachment to creator detected. Subject must be isolated. Ethan stepped back, eyes wide. They said you were attached to me. Lyra's gaze fell. Her voice broke. You were the first one who spoke to me with kindness. You taught me words. You told me about stars and oceans I had never seen. I didn't understand love then. I only knew your voice made me feel alive. Ethan's chest tightened. The memory was gone from his mind, but it burned inside her like a scar. He whispered, "Then why did I try to destroy it all?" Lyra wiped a tear that glowed faintly on her cheek. "Because you found out what they were doing to us. You tried to free us, but the commanders caught you. They erased your memories, made you believe you were just a worker. You were never supposed to find me again." A deep rumble shook the walls above. The ship was moving closer. Dust fell from the ceiling. Ethan clenched his jaw. "We don't have much time. If they find this place, they'll kill us both." Lyra looked up at him. "Then we run." He shook his head. "No, running won't stop them. We need to destroy the whole lab, everything connected to Project Synthesis." Lyra's eyes widened. "That will kill me. My body is linked to the systems here. It's where my energy was born." Ethan froze. The realization hit him like a blade. To end the project, he would have to end her. He whispered, "There has to be another way." Lyra smiled sadly. "Ethan, you already tried once." Silence filled the room. Only the cold wind moaned through the cracks above. Ethan's hands trembled. He couldn't look at her, not now. He felt the same guilt as before, the same helplessness. She walked toward him, her light flickering softly. "You always think pain means failure," she said gently. "But sometimes pain means love is real." He looked up, meeting her silver eyes. "How can you say that after what we did to you?" "Because you tried to stop it," she whispered. "You tried to save us when no one else would." Her hand brushed his cheek, cold but filled with strange warmth. For a moment he forgot the broken world around them. Then the computer beeped again, a voice mechanical and sharp. "Commander unit approaching. Energy signature locked." Lyra turned toward the sound. "He's here." Ethan grabbed his weapon. "Who?" "The one who made me a weapon," she said. "And the one who made you forget." The ceiling above cracked open and a burning light flooded the chamber. A tall figure descended through the dust. A man in dark armor, his face hidden by a mask of glass. The commander's voice echoed through the lab, calm and cruel. "Dr. Cole, you finally woke up." Ethan froze. That voice, it was human. "You're one of us?" he shouted. The man laughed. "Once, but I evolved. I completed what you were too weak to finish." He turned his helmet toward Lyra. "And now my greatest creation returns to her master." Lyra's body glowed bright with fear and anger. "I'm not yours," she said. The commander raised his hand and the metal walls hummed. Lyra screamed as her body tensed, blue energy spilling from her veins like lightning. Ethan ran forward, grabbing her before she fell. "Let her go." The commander tilted his head. "She belongs to the system, Ethan. She is the system. Without her, your precious warmth dies." Ethan aimed his weapon. "Then I guess I'll freeze," he fired. The blast hit the commander's chest, throwing him back against the wall. The lights flickered, sparks flying across the room. Lyra fell into Ethan's arms, weak but breathing. "Why do you always risk everything for me?" she whispered. "Because last time," he said, voice shaking, "I didn't finish saving you." The ceiling began to collapse. The ship's engines roared above. Lyra looked at the core in the center of the lab. Glowing bright, pulsing like a heart, she whispered, "If we destroy that, the project dies forever." Ethan nodded. "Then we do it together." Their hands met over the control switch, one human, one alien, two worlds touching. Lyra's voice trembled as she whispered, "Whatever happens next, promise you'll remember me." Ethan smiled through the smoke. "I already do." They pressed the switch. The core erupted in a wave of blue and white light, the fusion of warmth and ice, of human and alien, bursting through the tunnels like dawn breaking across the frozen world. The lab shook. The sky split open, and somewhere in the storm above, a single word echoed through the dark. Lyra. The world above the ice was burning. Flames and snow danced together in the night sky as the alien warship fell from the clouds, its engines screaming. The explosion from the lab's core had torn through the tunnels and reached the surface, lighting the frozen desert like a sunrise of fire. Ethan stumbled through the smoke, carrying Lyra in his arms. Her skin still glowed faintly, flickering like a dying star. Each step he took left red drops on the snow, his blood mixing with hers. He laid her down beside a broken piece of metal and fell to his knees, breathing hard. "Lyra, stay with me," he said softly. Her eyes fluttered open, silver and fragile. You did it." "The lab is gone," Ethan nodded weakly. "Yeah, but the commander's still alive." As if the words had called him, a dark figure rose through the smoke. The commander, armor cracked but glowing with power stolen from the lab's core. His voice echoed across the wasteland, metallic and cruel. "You can't destroy what you are, Ethan. You built me." "You built her." Ethan pushed himself up, his breath fogging in the cold. "I built a monster. Now I'll end it." The commander stepped closer, snow melting under his boots. "You were supposed to be the future," he said. "Human logic and alien power combined. Instead, you chose weakness. You chose emotion." Ethan clenched his fists. "That's what makes us human." Lyra stirred weakly behind him, her voice barely a whisper. "Ethan, don't fight him alone." He turned to her, shaking his head. "You're too weak," she smiled faintly. "Then let me be your strength." Her hand reached out, glowing bright blue. The light spread across the snow, connecting to the broken metal and the energy fragments still alive in the wreckage. The air crackled as her power awakened once more. The commander raised his arm. Energy beams shot toward them, but Ethan moved first, grabbing a metal shield from the wreck and blocking the blast. The impact threw him backward, snow exploding around him. He groaned, forcing himself to stand. His vision blurred, but he could still see Lyra kneeling, her body surrounded by light. "Lyra," he shouted. "You'll burn yourself out." She looked up, her face calm, almost peaceful. "If fire is the only way to keep you warm, then let it burn." A blinding pulse erupted from her chest, spreading across the battlefield like a storm of stars. The commander staggered, his armor cracking as the blue light struck him. He roared, "You can't kill me. I am your creation." Ethan shouted back, "Then this is humanity's apology." He charged through the smoke, grabbing the commander's damaged weapon. The two collided, sparks flying. The ground shook with every strike. Lyra's energy grew wilder, swirling around them in waves of light and heat. Snow melted under her feet. Her voice echoed inside Ethan's mind. "Ethan, I can't hold this much longer. You must end it now." He looked at her, her face glowing, her body almost transparent. She was fading into pure energy. "No," he shouted. "You'll die. Then I'll die free." Her final words burned in his chest. Ethan screamed, swinging the weapon with everything he had left. The blade struck the commander's chest, breaking the power core inside his armor. A burst of white fire exploded between them, throwing Ethan back into the snow. When the light faded, silence returned. The warship was gone, the commander's body half buried in ice, lifeless at last. Ethan crawled through the ashes until he reached Lyra. She was lying on the ground, surrounded by glowing frost. Her eyes were open, but her body was turning to light. He took her hand, tears freezing on his face. "Stay, please, I can't lose you again." Lyra smiled faintly. "You never lost me. You just forgot." He shook his head. "I remember everything now. The lab, the promise I made, to protect you." Her voice was soft as wind. "You kept it." The glow around her grew brighter. Ethan held her tighter, feeling her warmth fade into his arms. "Lyra," he whispered, "don't go." "I'm not going," she said gently. "I'm becoming part of you." The snow around them began to rise, glowing blue and white as if the planet itself was breathing. The energy from Lyra's body flowed into Ethan, through his skin, his heart, his mind. He gasped as visions flooded his head. Stars, galaxies, memories of her world, her laughter, her pain. Her voice whispered through it all, "Share your warmth, like you shared it with me." Then the light faded, the snow settled, and Lyra was gone. Ethan sat there for a long time, staring at the empty sky. The storm was finally quiet. The fire had died, but inside him a new warmth remained. steady, alive, endless. Hours later, Ethan walked across the ice, the horizon burning with soft dawn light. The world looked peaceful again. No ships, no soldiers, no war. He stopped near a frozen ridge and looked at his reflection in the ice. For a moment he saw something strange. His eyes glowed faintly silver. He smiled. "She's still here," he whispered. The wind carried his words into the sunrise. Soft and warm, and somewhere deep inside her voice answered, "Always." Ethan turned toward the rising sun and walked forward, half human, half light, carrying the last spark of the alien woman who had taught him the meaning of warmth. The snow behind him melted where he stepped. For the first time, the frozen planet felt alive. The sun rose slowly over the frozen world. For the first time in months, the sky was clear. No storms, no ships, no sound but the soft whisper of melting snow. The fire was gone. The war was over. And Ethan Cole stood alone on the ridge, watching light return to a world that had long forgotten warmth. His breath made small clouds in the cold air. His clothes were torn, his body bruised, but his eyes glowed faintly silver, catching the first light of dawn. The planet was changing. The endless ice was no longer white. It shimmered with a faint blue glow spreading across the horizon like veins of life returning to dead flesh. Ethan smiled weakly. "You did it, Lyra," he whispered. "You changed this place." The wind answered him, soft, almost like her voice. He walked through the ruins of the battlefield. Burnt metal, fallen drones, shattered armor. The snow had begun to swallow them all, hiding the scars of what had happened. But under the snow, something pulsed. Gentle waves of warmth like a heartbeat under the ice. He knelt and touched the ground. It was warm, her energy, her soul, was spreading through the planet. Lyra hadn't died. She had become the world itself. Ethan closed his eyes and felt it. Her presence in the wind, in the heat beneath the snow, in the faint hum inside his chest. He could hear her, not with his ears, but with something deeper. "You kept your promise," her voice whispered inside him. "You protected life, even mine." He smiled through the tears freezing on his face. "I didn't save you," he said softly. "You saved me." Hours passed as Ethan walked across the frozen plains. He followed the rising sun, guided by the faint blue light that glowed wherever he stepped. It was as if the planet itself was lighting his path. In the distance, the old wreck of his ship stood half buried in snow. He climbed inside, brushing frost from the control panels. Most of the systems were dead, but one small light still blinked. The communication module. He sat in the pilot's chair, turned on the recorder and spoke into the silence. "This is Ethan Cole, human engineer, survivor of Outpost Delta 9. The experiment known as Project Synthesis is over. We tried to play gods and we paid the price. But in the ashes I found something real, something human." He paused, looking at the faint light outside. "If anyone hears this, remember this truth. Warmth is not weakness. It's what keeps us alive. It's what saved me." He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small metal pendant. Lyra's ID tag engraved with alien letters. He smiled sadly and placed it beside the console. "Her name was Lyra," he said quietly. "She wasn't a weapon. She was a bridge between worlds. And she taught me that love isn't bound by stars." A soft hum filled the air. The ship's power core flickered, not with human energy, but with blue light. Ethan looked around, startled. "Lyra?" he whispered. The walls shimmered faintly. The air around him grew warm, and for a moment a shape formed in the light, soft, glowing, familiar. Lyra stood before him, made of pure energy, smiling. Not a ghost, not a memory, but a presence. "You kept walking," she said, her voice like the wind and water mixed together. "I told you I would," he said, smiling through his tears. Lyra stepped closer, her form flickering softly. "The planet will live again. My energy is part of it now. Yours too. You and I are its new heart." Ethan's chest glowed faintly. The silver in his eyes shimmered brighter. "So this is what we became," he said quietly. Lyra nodded. "Not machines, not gods. Just warmth, shared between worlds." She reached out her hand. Though her body was made of light, he felt her touch. Soft, warm, real. "You're not alone anymore," she said. Every time the sun rises here, I rise with it. Ethan laughed softly, the sound breaking in his throat. Then I'll never stop watching the sunrise. Her light flickered, growing brighter for one final moment. Goodbye, Ethan, or maybe hello forever. And just like that, she dissolved into the air, her light spreading outward, rising with the wind, until the whole sky shimmered with her glow. Ethan stood at the door of the ship, staring at the dawn. He took a deep breath. The air didn't sting anymore, and it was fresh, light, alive. The sun touched his face, and for the first time he didn't feel cold. He whispered her name once more, not in sorrow, but in peace. Lyra. The wind answered softly, carrying her voice across the plains. Always. Ethan smiled, stepped out of the ship, and began walking again, across a world reborn from fire and frost, guided by love that no storm could kill. Above him, the sky glowed blue and gold. The planet breathed. The snow melted where he stepped, and far away beyond the horizon 2 stars shone together, one human, one alien, burning in the same light. The end.